Hey guys, Dennis here with Collider Games. I'm with
Joey. How you doing?
And we're here to talk about the Red Dead 2 Redemption 2 gameplay trailer.
Yeah.
6 minutes, finally dropped. We had seen some stuff before that were more like cutscene stuff. This is the first time we actually see gameplay. What did you think?
Honestly, I feel like this is a flashback to the GTA 5 reveal, like when we got these voice-overed videos showing in-game footage, and we're seeing the same engine, we're seeing a lot of the same fight mechanics, but polished and revisited for Red Dead Redemption 2. So I'm in general, I'm pretty excited.
Yeah, it's a prequel. It's starring Arthur Morgan, who's the leader of the gang that actually John Marston was a part of as well. I felt like the first game was kind of like, it felt like, because I know what's his face, the director for The Proposition, John Hillcoat, which I'm a big fan of. I have a poster right over there. He actually had influence over the first movie in terms of they kind of, even the storyline was a little based on The Proposition, where it's like, and this one felt more like Deadwood because it seemed more concentrated on
more open.
Yeah, open in the towns. It seems to more concentrate on the towns. Yeah. Also, the different way that your character is going to play is he's living in camps that keep moving throughout. I'm wondering how they're going to get that into this whole open world environment without, being stale.
Yeah, this definitely feels like a more open version of Red Dead Redemption than we got with the first one. You're not being, fed too much story. It seems like you're creating your own story a little bit more through interactions. Now, there's a lot of potential in that, but we have seen Rockstar do this before in GTA 5, and the way like missions and quests and things like that work. So that actually makes me a little hesitant about it, only because you're not going to get as in-depth storytelling and in-depth development, but there seems to be steps taken towards actually making the world change with the way you interact with towns, the way you interact with your gang, with the Vanderlands, and even the way you interact with your horse, the way you interact with the environment. So hopefully there are going to be some cool changes there. One of the interesting things that I saw is, you have the ability to escalate or decline or diffuse a situation as you're talking. And in a kind of choose your own adventure game like we've got from Telltale and stuff like that, it would usually be like a decision where they're trying to mask what the actual result is going to be. It's like, you could say this thing and we'll see what happens, or you could say this thing and we'll see what happens. Those are games where you're really trying to like figure it out and figure out a mystery or something like that. This is, I want to watch, I want a character to be a certain way, and I don't want to have my, my decisions like affect that in the wrong way, because I want this character to be the hero that I want him to be. So it's not about like making the right decision or the wrong decision. It's I want to escalate this situation. I want to push it, and he's going to push it in whatever way fits the character and whatever way So it's, I don't think we're ever going to get the I didn't mean to do that kind of button, or like where it says something and you're like, well, that's not how I meant it. Like, so I don't think that's going to happen, which is exciting because it's a different way of doing those decisions.
See, I'm wondering, because if it does go more the way that you're talking about, where it's more open and you kind of determine where your character goes, and that would involve a lot of side missions, side quests. One of the issues I did have with the first Red Dead Redemption was that the main storyline was great, but the side quests were not very fleshed out, right? Like I remember like certain missions that you would complete, and like you never actually, like after you like either killed someone or did something, you were supposed to like take an item back to someone. You actually never even took the item back and talked to the person that the whole mission. It was just like more of a checkoff list. It was like, okay, you did that.
And in GTA 5, all the missions were kind of lighthearted. Either they're like goofy gang action, or it's trying to take pictures of a Lindsay Lohan lookalike at the Chateau Marmont. And we're gonna get something here that's got a little more weight to it. That's less levity to it, I think. And the way that they're talking about the solitary stuff, like the hunting, the collecting pelts and things like that to be able to be sold and to benefit your gang. Like, that just looks like a completely different way to play the game, and a more contemplative thing to be able to do. That looks a lot of fun as well.
Yeah, it seems like you, because you're the leader of the gang, I think you have to talk to and interact with all the gang members and try and get them, you know, to be more on your side and see what their kind of storylines are, and hopefully there's some more depth in that. I think also with the gameplay mechanics, I mean, look, the graphics look fantastic, the environments. Same with the first one. Obviously, that was on a previous generation. This is on a new generation, so we're going to have that upgraded. The play mechanics look similar with the Deadeye. The kind of the close quarter combat look more intricate, more detailed than the previous game.
I'm interested to see, you know, this has been one of the biggest jokes with Rockstar games, is that when you know, in GTA 5, when you have a wanted level, every cop is out to murder you. You know, and it's so hard to get arrested in GTA 5. You are going to get wasted. Like, that's just how this game is going to work. So I'm interested to see the nuances in that, because they did show some nuance, like little things like being able to intimidate people with a gunshot. Any other game where if you fired a gun, immediately people would scatter and run or attack you. This was, you know, you could fire in the air and people would turn and like look at you and be afraid of you, and have different reactions to, you know. I wonder what the mechanic's going to be like on that. Is it literally going to be you have to aim up at the sky to make that happen?
Or is there like an alternate?
Or is there another button for it? So that might slow down that kind of thing. But it could be the options that they had at the side, you know, like escalate the situation or diffuse the situation. Maybe you don't really have a choice of how you escalate the situation, and maybe that's kind of a random way to do it. It's just going to be, you know, you want to escalate the situation, right? He fires his gun up in the air, and that's, you know, that's his way of escalating. And if you did the same interaction a different way, hitting the escalate button might be different.
Yeah, I just don't want the game to feel like it's on rails. Do you know what I mean? Like, I don't want the, like, even the story stuff just be like, okay, now here's a cutscene, and then you kind of almost like a Telltale game, right? Where you're just going through the motions because you want a certain result, versus like more open and free, where it's like, okay, whether you kill this person or not, or, you know, it's more natural and organic.
Yeah, so there's a lot of stuff to look at. Like you mentioned, the Deadeye system. There is going to be another video that they're releasing with gameplay to look at, you know, activities to do out of camp, the rival gangs, more into the Deadeye system. They're talking about the missions in the same way that GTA 5 talked about heists when it launched.
Yeah, because you can do robberies in this with your gang.
And they're very poignantly not calling them heists, and I'm very worried about that. I'm just hoping that they have a storyline. I know you can set up these robberies. I'm hoping that there's kind of a storyline through them. Like, you have to get money for X, not just because, you know, you need money for your gang to survive at camp. So, anything else? Well, you know, not so much on gameplay, but this is one of the things that I really did like is some of the biomes in here. Like the way they showed some of the desert environment. That is some of the best looking desert I have seen in any game. You know, especially Western desert, because, you know, like you think back to Uncharted 3, and we got like Saharan desert, and, you know, you know, not Western desert, but any other game, when a area has desert, it's their excuse to just not put anything there. And this had so much, like, it had cacti, it had lizards, it had vegetation, it had changes in terrain, because you're exploring it at a slower pace. You know, it's not like The Crew where you're just racing over the desert and you never actually see any of it. And so I'm interested to see how the environments kind of play into the heists, into your interactions with people, like what kind of people you run into out there. And also like the little like survival elements of it, you know, like being out late at night alone, you know, do you fight the cold and things like that. You know, having those mechanics in there, for some people that could be, you know, a hindrance. They didn't mention anything like that. There's little bits of stuff like that in Red Dead Redemption, if I remember correctly. But ultimately, it's not a big part of the game, and because they didn't mention anything like that in the gameplay mechanics in this video. It might not be in there, which I think would be a little bit of a missed opportunity. Yeah, no, I think that the environments look.
Yeah, that's one thing that carries over from the first game. These ones are even more detailed, and some of those shots when he's in the snow, and you can you know, just you feel very immersed in there. I do hope they change up the horse mechanics. I wasn't a fan of the horse mechanics in the first, because you had to keep pressing the button, like instead of like where you're just moving your thumbstick to go forward or left or right. You would use the thumbstick to change directions, but you actually had to click on the button to like to adjust the speed. Yeah. That got a little tiresome, especially when you're traveling.
Well, that's why we don't
whole...
use horses for long-term travel anymore. You know, like we've gone past that, and I'm excited to see that they have, you know, the different versions of horses. Again, they kind of had that in the first one, but to really see the mechanics change, I would love to play the game entirely with like horse and cart, you know, and if it got a little more like, if it was going to be slower, but it was going to be easier to maneuver, or like I can haul more gear, because they're talking about the saddlebags actually working, you know, being able to store weapons, putting pelts and putting like carcasses on the back of your horse, so you don't have an unlimited inventory. So I'm going to be running around with a horse and cart if I can, and just like loading the back of it as much as possible.
Yeah. So and you know the game mechanics for the shooting and stuff, that all look similar, but I'm sure they refined it more. They're talking about more realistic recoil, more realistic, you know, gunfire and whatnot.
And reload times too. Yeah. So like this is something that we take for granted when it comes to
when you play FPS, like, you know.
Yeah. So like seeing that slow double barrel reload, which is still kind of a, you know, not a superhuman speed, but they've sped up, you know, what that would be for your own like ease. But all the animation is there, I guess, is the main point that they're making. And when it gets to, you know, different guns, the animation is going to be there.
Cool.
So that, I mean, it's a lot of exciting stuff.
Yeah, I'm excited for it. It comes out October 26th, I think, of this year. 26th, yeah, of this year. Gonna have to check it out. We're gonna pre-order it and everything. So that's our thoughts on the Red Dead Redemption 2 gameplay trailer. Let us know what you think. Post your comments below. Joey, where can people find you?
You can find me on Twitter and Instagram, Joey Rasool, RASSOOL.
And you can find me on Twitter at ThinkHero, on Instagram, Dennis.tzng. Don't forget to subscribe to this YouTube channel, youtube.com/ColliderGames. We also have a bunch of other channels out there. We have our regular main channel, Collider Videos. We're launching a Collider Sports soon. Collider Quick just got started. Collider Podcast. We have all. Go. So subscribe.